completely fired up. And he hasn't, you know, he's still smoking. I mean, he is just still, he is really on fire. He said, you know, they're doing this, we can do this. And he just saw that it could, I think what he saw was that A, it could happen, it could be done, and B, the tremendous benefits that you get from it. You know, what a city is like when you saw all these people riding. And so I think that getting engineers that kind of training is really helpful, because they're really not trained in this stuff. They don't know how to do it. And that's one of the reasons why, you know, in Portland, you know, we are working on our own city, but we're also thinking more globally about this. We're trying to work at the national level. And we recognize there's a great lack of training. We created this institute at our local university. It's called the Initiative for Bicycle and Pedestrian Innovation. And it offers training classes to engineers and planners to come in, get hands-on experience, or you know, be taught classes by people who are doing this stuff, so talking to their peers in Portland, including our city traffic engineer, and then going out and riding around our city and seeing what the experience is like, what the benefit has been. And so, you know, that's helpful. They've got to get some training. So I think getting them some experience on bikes on the streets, getting them some training is kind of key.
Mark, thank you very much for your presentation. Very informative. Last year I rode 321 days in 2008, so probably half the days I missed were snow, so you know, we can take public transport. One of the comments I'd like to make on your website is the amount of attention, the positive attention you give to education. And it's not just say cycling, but it's also to all the other stakeholders. That is very valuable. I think that goes hand in hand with the increased cycling. So on your website, it's just fantastic. The education and the tips and all the little training you provided in the group rides. And that to me is one of the barriers in say cycling.
Yeah, I think that the motorists, thank you for that. The motorists have definitely, Portland's motorists have become much better. And I think in part they are really looking for cyclists on the street, and anecdotally certainly experience that motorists are really looking for cyclists and are behaving much better around them now than ever before in the past.
Back to traffic engineers, what is their training to be a traffic engineer? Is there either like give a master's in urban planning and specialize in traffic engineering? What is what they're not like engineers, like civil engineers, or like that?
Yeah, they go through.
They go to engineering school and become a traffic engineer.
Traffic engineering is a specialty within engineering, so I think a lot of them get a lot of training in civil engineering, and then specialize, go off and specialize in traffic engineering.
But most engineering schools, then you're saying, do not have any courses in cycling or pedestrian stuff. So when you're hiring a traffic engineer for your city, like your background was what?
I'm not an engineer. I've got a master's in urban and environmental policy.
And you got hired how?
I'm not an engineer, so I'm not doing engineering. I just answered that in the paper. To be a project manager within the bike program. But you know, yeah, but you know, just to expand on that a little bit, no, they are not getting good training in schools. There's, you know, if you look at our national models at our AASHTO guide, which is the American Association of State Highway Transportation Officials, the designs in there are not that great. The way that they treat consideration of it, you know, it's. I guess now there's a book that's a little bit thicker, but if you take a look at the Dutch design guide for bicycle facilities, it's about this thick. And the things that they teach you, the things that they consider in that design guide, you know, it's just amazing what they consider in that design guide and what they train you to look for. And in the U.S. and in the States, we're just, and I'm sure in Canada it's true as well, our engineers are not getting that training because it hasn't been a big part of our transportation systems. There's not that experience out there. And, you know, put in a 1.5 meter bike lane, you're good.
This question back there.
Yes, in Portland, are the traffic rules enforced for bicyclists, for example, by the police, by some organization?
Yes, they are. The police have done some actually many traffic enforcement actions at locations where cyclists are known to commonly run through a stop sign or run the red light. We instituted a number of years ago a diversion class. So it was a program that was started by our office, Multnomah County Court, our county court system, the police bureau, our local advocacy organization, and trauma nurses. And it put a presentation together that talked a little bit about policy, talked about the law, and talked about why cyclists behave certain ways, why motorists behave certain ways, and just kind of tried to give a comprehensive picture about, why it's good to do the right thing, basically, and to understand a little bit better also on the negative effect that poor cyclist behavior has on our trying to achieve our policy goals. And so, when you get a $240 ticket for running a red light, you can instead take this diversion class. So that's a way that we're trying to, turn lemons into lemonade. So it's been pretty popular.
We just hit 2 more questions as well.
I think what Janet was getting at was that we may have, I at least have a perception that we have a gap between the traffic engineer, the main traffic engineer, and HRM, which is the main city, and somebody like yourself. We do have somebody like yourself who's working on that. And I think if we thought that, if you went to Copenhagen, some other staff member turned around, we'd probably take up a donation right now.
And I'd be happy to tour guide.
And a couple of $1,000. So the question, I guess, is I would think that what you presented in terms of value for dollar for transportation spending would convince anybody with a gray matter to see the validity of promoting bicycle usage as transportation, good viability no matter where you are. So what is the resistance? Is it basically is it their sort of base training that gives them the automobile only is what we need?
It's I don't think it's partly that, but I think mostly what it is space. It's space in the right of way. It's not that it's expensive to do this stuff, but it requires space. And to get that space, you're taking away from the automobile. And I think that's a big source of the resistance. And partly it's cultural, because we would get a lot of complaints when we put in the bike lane, even if we didn't change the number of travel lanes. People just didn't want it. Not the traffic issue, but people in the community and the politicians hear that. But that's why we went after the lowest of the low-hanging fruit when we started out 15 years ago. We would get bike lanes in our streets where we didn't have to remove travel lanes. Maybe we could just narrow them up. Then we would do road docks, where we might go from the 4-lane cross-section to a 3-lane cross-section, which our traffic engineers prefer anyhow for automobile operations. It's just a safer operation that way. And that would give us enough space to get a bike lane in. On some of our one-way streets, we have a lot of one-way streets, and I think that gives us some advantages. You have more width to work with. On some of those, we would remove travel lanes. In some places, we did remove parking. We would do very detailed parking demand studies to find that on many streets, we could remove parking from one side of the street. The entire demand for parking could be met on the other side that remained, and that would give us enough width to get bike lanes in. They'd be narrow, but we'd get them in, and people would start using them. So, we really did try to go after the low-hanging fruit initially, so that, again, it's about building constituency.